Not our
Not our fault, no.
So, Shvetashvatra Upanishad, we are on the 4th chapter, 13th verse, page 154. Yeah, 154. You went on a long leave and then.
Yeah, you covered a lot.
On whom the worlds rest, and who rules this world of the bipeds and the quadrupeds. To that deity who is bliss, we render service with oblation. Now, sacrifices, we still have them, of course. But in the old days, it was much more elaborate, huge. And it used to go in for a couple of days and even months. One sacrifice that went on for a whole year. So yeah, and the ladle is Brahman, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir. That is the idea. And so the of adoration. How do we adore? The best that you have is offered. Like it was an agricultural society, so they used to offer milk, curds, porridge, and cakes, and all these things. And then barley and wheat, that also was offered. So, and pouring in what more? What are the gods do we need to worship? We have this and that deity, and also he is the one who is yeah, two-legged, and we have two legs and four legs, and we had these glimpses. But it means just to no, we have the millipedes that with have the 100 legs, and they keep all legs, all moving and non-moving creatures. That's the idea. So he extends from right up from the gods and the highest heavens right down to the lowest as in the internal ruler. Huh. So there are these Vedic, you can say, licenses that these rishis used to. They that adoration, like was spontaneous, came out of their hearts. And later the grammarians they came and said, no, this word shouldn't have been like this. It should have been like that. The grammarians follow the language.
Yeah.
So their usage of certain words in the Vedic lexicon is called Arsha Prayog. That is used by the sages. It has a stamp of authority. Even the grammarians say, hands off. Yes. So when he says Ishe, the grammarian will say, the commentator will say it's actually supposed to be Ishte, one who rules. So, yes. So that's it. We won't go into
So
the
what's the
grammar.
difference for each day and what's the difference?
One who rules Ishte.
Okay, and the other one?
Ishe is just the Lord. One Isha,
Yeah.
like the Upanishad, the Isha Upanishad. And of course, Vidhema, we render service. Vidhema, it's a form of a verb saying in the sense of serving. Dha is to give. So apart from that, it was the Rig Veda. I have met people who have who've memorized the whole of the Rig Veda and keep on chanting it. And during these sacrifices, there is one main, you can say, priest called a Brahma. He is a head priest, and he has four other priests with him. And then he say Om when this particular rite has to be that Om, and then one priest Advaryu or Ritvik, whatever. they keep on chanting certain sections of the Veda. So I have known some people who can chant the whole of the Rig Veda.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean nothing. It's just practice, and apart from that, these Purva Mimamsa, those who base their philosophy on the earlier sections of the Vedas, say that the mantras themselves can give you what you ask. You don't even need a deity, because these are Vedic mantras. They have been discovered by sages. They have inherent power. All mantras have power, but especially these mantras which have been rediscovered rather by the sages. When you chant these mantras, they give you the desired fruit. So you get two fruits from two sources. One is the Lord Himself is pleased. Ha, praising me, and let's give this guy a little. And the very fact of chanting those mantras also gives you the fruits of that. So we go to the next. Uh, these 3 or 4 verses are nothing but these prayers. So the next one is also page 155. One attains the acme of peace by realizing Shiva as subtler than the subtle, as existing in the midst of the inscrutable and the impenetrable, as the creator of the universe, as having multifarious forms, and as the one all encompassing entity of the universe. Yeah. Wow. Uh, in the earlier sections of the Upanishad, we spoke about the wheel of Brahman,
Mhm.
like like Brahman is like that spoke, that hub, and he is also the spoke, and Brahman is also the rim, and on that embedded all these creatures, and the wheel turns. That was a kind of a analogy there given in the early section. Here again, he brings this kind of uh, this collective existence is embedded in that one existence. So where have all we come from? From that source. And why can't we see him? He's saying because it's very subtle. Like starting from, say, the earth till the highest forms of nature, Prakriti, which is, say, is before the manifestation of this universe, Prakriti is in a kind of a dormant state of a non manifestation. And it is calm. And then something stirs. And then everything starts issuing out of that. Keeps on modifying itself, and this whole thing. So everything has a subtle aspect as well as a gross aspect. We have a body, that's a gross aspect. We have a subtle aspect in us, which is the mind. And that Lord is even subtler than the subtlest. What's more subtle? Yes, the intellect, the idea of your individual existence, and the Lord is even beyond that subtle categories. What happens? One attains the acme of peace. Ah, like as if peace has got grades. Yes, it is. As we keep on, like Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of, as you walk towards the ocean, first you will hear the sound at distance, and you will feel the cool breeze. And as you keep on
Mm.
proceeding towards the ocean, this sound will also increase and the cool breeze. And then slowly you go and touch the water. Ah, it's bliss. Then you dip yourself in the water, immerse yourself. It's more bliss. So it's a kind of a gradation. It's So you will reach the acme of peace. What is acme of peace? That is realizing by realizing the Shiva. When you attain that subtle perception, uh, in one of the Upanishads, another Upanishad, Drishyate Tvagrayabda. That deity is seen. Drishyate Tvagra. When the intellect has become extremely one pointed and subtle, what Sukshmaya Sukshmadarshi, that is, those seers who can see subtle things, they see that deity hidden in themselves as subtle, and their intellect has been purified, has been made one pointed and become subtle. And they see that being there inside. That's the reason why none sees him with these eyes. Na sandrashe tishtati rupam. Holy Mother, a disciple of Holy Mother, saying, I want to see God with these eyes.
Mhm.
So Holy Mother said, no, you can't. Only Vivekananda, Naren could see God with these. And of course, she is there, and then Shri Ramakrishna also said that. But she dismissed it. No, you can't do that. So, so to see God with this eye, that is, these people, their minds have become so purified. They see God everywhere. They can see the forms of God. They can see the manifestations of God, even with this eye, these eyes. But for the rest of us, we need to see, like Arjuna, he prays, I want to see your cosmic form. And the Lord said, you can't see me with these eyes. I'll give you the divine eye. And he opened his divine eye. Divyam dadami te chakshu. I'll give you that divine eye. Pashame, see my glory, Aishwaram. See my glory. And then he kept on seeing that huge cosmic form of God in its creation and preservation and destruction aspects. And then he was frightened. I don't want to see it. I'm frightened. I want to see your adorable form. This, according to one sage, Ramanujacharya, why does God descend as an avatar? One of the principal reason is so that we can worship and adore a form that is like us. We can understand it. So that's why it's called Archana Murti. That is a form that's adorable and that can be worshipped. And all through the history of humanity, we have had people worshipping these gods or sages or incarnations. God manifests as an adorable being, where that deity becomes a kind of recipient of your offerings and your prayers, and then so this is where I think, yeah, uh, those divine eyes, because extremely subtle. Drishyate tvagraya. It is seen, that reality is seen through the extremely subtle and one pointed intellect of the sages. And as existing in the midst of the inscrutable and the impenetrable existence, or you say agyana, nescience, as the creator of the universe. This is the second line. Uh, we have, there's something called cosmos. Yeah, cosmos. Cosmos is order. Everything is nice and orderly. And the counterpart of that is chaos. Chaos, whether order rises out of chaos, chaos rises out of order, but these are complementary. Yeah, you cannot have one without the other.
Because of duality,
Yeah,
dual nature of the
yeah.
universe.
So he's saying that in the Indian philosophy and Indian mythology also, yeah, there were these ocean of, you can say, the causal waters. Even in the Bible, you have this. What is that? This that nothing moved on the earth. On the earth, there were the waters. Yeah, there were these waters. Everything was covered by water. So even in the Rig Veda, you have this. In the hymns of creation, you have these waters. So these waters represent that kind of chaos, that darkness. From there comes order and light and structure. Everything. So this is what he's saying. Vishwasekham pariveshtitaram. And then he's saying, as a creator of the, as having multifarious forms. Vishwasya srashtar aneka rupa. Why does God have one form? No. Why should he have one form? Why can't he have many forms? So yes, and since he's infinite, he can do what he pleases. And every one of us, including Ted, yes, yeah, he is unbelievable. The highest worship is the worship of the self, Parapuja. And Sri Ramakrishna used to was sometimes in the high state worship himself. And how do you worship? I say, yes, I am that reality. What's wrong with me? Why did I think of I'm dead? So God had every form, every name and form. This universe is a name and form of God. So what about us? Yeah, what about us? You've got to leave that behind and understand your divine nature. So that's why he's saying Sukshmati Sukshmam Kalilasya Madhye Vishwasekam Srashtar Anek Rupam Vishwasekam Pariveshtitaram Jnatva Shivam Shanti Matya. By knowing, by knowing, by realizing. How do you realize that which is beyond ignorance, beyond death? Death is kind of analogous to something called we call non-knowledge. Whenever we have knowledge, death. Oh, where is thy? Oh, death, where is thy sting? Yes, birth and life and death and all these things become irrelevant. All our conceptions of this world and about ourselves are blown out when there's a rise of knowledge. And that's the reason why Vedanta said the only path to liberation is knowledge. Of course, devotion, yes, but devotion is not different from knowledge. When you need to love somebody, you have to know somebody. And the more you know, the more you love. And that's how bhakti and jnana or devotion and knowledge are always linked. And when we love somebody, our minds become concentrated on that. So that also is yoga. And when we love somebody like that, we keep on serving that being. So that also becomes karma. So you have all the four yogas there. And besides, even the Gita says, Sarva Karma Akilam Partha Jnani Parisam. Everything that we do ends with knowledge. That's the reason why, we see mother working throughout the day, extremely busy, but she's working through knowledge. So it is no longer work. She's working through love. So it's no longer work. It appears like work. And the same thing we can do when we love and serve others. If we can understand, yes, I'm loving and serving the Lord. Why do the people think, oh, it's so strenuous, it's so backbreaking, it's this, it's that? No, it's a labor of love. So here it is. Once we understand, we realize Nyatva. Shivam, as we have seen, is that deity which is calm and auspicious and infinite. And that later on was given a kind of a shape and a form and a name and this and that. Shiva remained. It arose as, according to Swami Vivekananda, in the old days, we had something called, in the old sacrifices, we had a kind of a stake, more like a kind of a, it wasn't carved, but a kind of a totem pole. And the sacrifice used to be. And the animal that was supposed to be sacrificed was tied to that. So, and then this became a kind of a symbol of the Shivalinga and the red and the white ashes, and the various, you can say, symbology coalesced into a form of what we call as Shiva. So it started with all these ancient Vedic sacrifices. Yeah. So here, Shiva, you can read the Shiva as, if you understand the symbology and the secret behind these sacrifices, one attains peace, shanti matya, the extreme of peace, as they say. Atyanta means the very, you can say, extent of peace. What peace can be there? You realize. So people say, we seek peace. Yes, if you know, if you realize a deity, you will attain peace. That's so peace, peace, peace. We keep on saying peace, peace, peace. That's a different level where the three factors that trouble us are uh, prayed to so that they may not disturb us. The things which are not in our hands, lightning strike, thunder, rain, and all these things, definitely not in our hands. We are all sitting here and suddenly we have a kind of a snowstorm. What could you do? I was sitting peacefully meditating and we have a snowstorm. That's not in your hand. Then a snake comes and tries to frighten me. A skunk comes and tries to bite me. A snake or some animal comes and tries, a scorpion comes and stings. Not your fault. That's not in your control at all. And we are all sitting nicely, quietly, and suddenly you get a headache. That too also not in your hand. Maybe you never slept last night, or could be anything. But you can. So these three levels of, you can say, elements that affect us, that disturb us, we say peace, peace, peace three times, so that these things are quiet. They may not inflict any damage to us. Uh, then there is a realization of the self, which is beyond all these three orders of, you can say, elements. There, that is Shantam and Shivam and Advayam. That is non-dual. That is peace, and that is auspiciousness. That is light. Ah, because somehow we've associated our thoughts with ignorance or non-knowledge is dark, and knowledge is light. So these sages, they play around with these things. So don't worry, you don't need to drop that symbology. You can retain it, and finally, but the actual realization will transcend all ideas of luminosity. If you say, I know, you are still in the state of non knowledge.
Mm.
Oh, you know, I see. So you need to transcend even the I and know. Then what remains? Nothing remains but your real self. Because that's why they say the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. There is no knower. You start with this. So in Indian realizations, there is something called the knower of Brahman, Brahmavid. Then there is a better knower of Brahman, Brahmavid Variyan. And then the best knower of Brahman, Brahmavid Varishta. Yeah, we have. Then is there a grade in uh, knowledge of the knowledge of the reality? No, it depends on the how much of you have become that reality. So from our standpoint, we say, oh, that person is a knower of Brahman, the best knower of Brahman. And oh, really? But for that person is Brahman. So they cannot be again duality. I know, when I say I know this book is limited by my mind. I cannot know the reality which is infinite and say, I know the reality which is infinite. No, you can't. So you have to become that.
You are it.
Yeah, you are it. Tattvamasi. So read that again. One attains that and the subtle as existing in the midst of the inscrutable and the impenetrable, as a creator of the universe, as having multifarious forms, and as a one all encompassing entity of the universe. It's clear. Uh, there is no one else beside him. And uh,
So you started with Hiranyagarbha and you started with Hiranyagarbha
yes.
and then you ended with Brahma.
Yes, because here one of the verses which was on the 12th verse is Hiranya Garbham Pashyata Jayamanam. He who saw Hiranya Garbha, the creator, creating everything. He means that is that reality was even prior to the creator, Hiranyagarbha. Because that reality saw Hiranyagarbha. So it starts because this manifested world has been tried to explained with nature and the categories of nature and this and that. It leads us slowly to something which is beyond nature. And what is beyond nature? That reality. Then you say, where is that reality? It is here. This is the reality. But we see nature. It is not nature. It is that reality that's appearing as nature. It is that reality which is appearing as souls. So once the veil is dropped, we see everything as that reality. And this is what he's saying, that he has, as having multifarious forms, as the creator of this universe. That is, it is because of the Lord that this universe is as is. There is actually no creation but projection in the world. But when we see something, we automatically say, okay, this thing has been manufactured at some time or some place. We always seek for something, the origin. Yeah, this table has been manufactured, this computer and table, all these things. There has to be some starting point, somebody who has designed it, Somebody who has fabricated this. Yeah. So in our mindset, we see this universe and we say, yes, it has to have a creator. Like Sri Ramakrishna says, when you see magic, you see and you're stunned. But the magician is having a last laugh. You forget that there's a magician there. If the magician wasn't there, there would have been no magic. That is real magic which deceives you for the time being and entertains you also. How? How is that possible? And they do such impossible things, but it's the magician. So similarly, you see this creation. Hey, how is this? Well, how is it possible? Yeah, you see that creator there. So where does the creator? This is manufactured. Yeah, and this is external to me. But in Vedanta, God is the material and the efficient cause. God is transformed into this. That's a tremendous kind of statement. Where seeketh thou but freedom, friend? This world on that can kill. Thine only is the hand that holds the rope that tracks thee on. So the whole burden of your existence, your miserable existence, is thrown on you. You have that the rope there. Let go that rope, and you see that it is the Lord. That's why they say, "Do not seek Him, see Him." We stop here for now. We can take some questions.
Express